Good evening and welcome to another episode of MTG Sin Senpai. I got kind of a short video today. This particular week I only drafted one time, but due to the single draft I did go out of my way to get a few packs just to open for the video. And yeah, let's go ahead and get straight into it. So doing a quick draft review. This particular deck only went 2-1. It did not do as well as I would have liked, but it was a lot of fun. The one game I did lose, or the one person I did lose against, their deck was pretty good as well. And it was pretty much, it was a good back and forth. I lost that game in 3, so in the end it was still, I think the deck performed well, and it did a lot of the work that I expected it to do, and I was able to pull off a particular combo at the very end, which was a lot of fun. So let's go ahead and get straight into it. Starting off with, these are the cards in the sideboard. This is a pretty solid pick, especially if you're in the green, that entrapment and artifact destruction is pretty solid, and the fact that it's, yeah, you have to pay 6 mana to flip it into a 5/5, but it's still essentially a combat trick with your disguised creature, so it's pretty solid. Rope was, it's an interesting one. I have not personally pulled it off yet myself, but if you equip this to a creature with suspect, it's an unblockable creature essentially, so it's kind of fun, and it's, yeah, it does cost 3 to equip, but essentially doing that to a suspected creature does make it a little absurd. I do like the card a lot. Felonious Rage, I think I've covered this in a previous video, but this card I think is an amazing battle trick, and the fact that, let's say you have something smaller that's getting eaten up, you just need a little bit extra power, you can trade it with someone else's stuff and replace it with a 2/2, so I like this card a lot. The only reason this is in the sideboard is because I had 2, so decided not to run that one. This particular card I really enjoy. Now, mind you, if I'm only going 2 colors, I typically don't run it. But if I'm running anything that's 3 colors plus, I'll find a way to get this into the slot. Just because at 2 mana, it's a pretty solid card, and it allows you to do the effect from the graveyard as well. So it's pretty solid. Fender at Large is one of my a fun card. The fact that it allows you to give it the +2/+0 when it enters the battlefield, or if it's turn faced up. So it's the fact that it applies both ways is pretty solid. And the fact that this one's not in this particular deck is because I have 2, so I didn't need to run both. Innocent Bystander is a pretty decent 2-mana 2/1. I believe the reason this one did not make the cut, this particular draft deck had way too many two drops, and I just had to I had to trim off some of them, and this one just did not make the cut this particular time around. But it is a solid 2-drop. Suspicious Detonation. I was getting to a point where I needed more removal spells, so I kind of grabbed this one, but this one's on the expensive end, so I typically don't run it unless I absolutely have to. Rakish Scoundrel is one of those cards that I was thinking about running whenever with the splashing into the black, but in the end I did not splash into a 3rd color, so I decided to cut it. But it's a pretty solid card. It does get its effect when it ETBs, or if you commit that 6 mana, it does go into a battle trick that can kill something else and make something else indestructible, or just make itself indestructible, so it's good. This one I hate drafted pretty hard, and I was thinking about possibly splashing into white, which I did not get to do. But Case of the Gateway Express is just a solid 2-mana removal spell that can anthem your team, so that's pretty solid as well. Relive the Past. So this card I know tables, and I actually kind of value it kind of highly. Worst case scenario, you're paying 7 mana to just get a single 5/5. Excuse me. But if you're able to pull it off, it does do a lot of goofy things, especially if you're able to get all 3 targets, and there's plenty of different valuable targets. There's cases that if they get destroyed, or there's the cases that after you sacrifice them, after you solve them, you sacrifice them for an effect. Killer Among Us with this is actually pretty hilarious. Unfortunately, I've come to realize that everyone has realized Killer Among Us is just an amazing card, and so the people that slept on it is no longer sleeping on it, as far as I can tell, in limited. But every time I see the card, I try and make it work. Obviously, I don't pick it early; I pick it later on because no one picks this card. But I like the card, and whenever I have made it go off, it's hilarious. Basic lands, I forgot to sort this. Slime Against Humanity. I was trying to make this work. I do like the card a lot myself. I personally actually have a good handful. Actually, they're right here. Funny enough, I have a good handful of these now that I'm kind of building a collection. I think I have about 30 now, so I'm going to build my commander deck with these. I've kind of been brewing, so I definitely want to build the deck, but I have enough of them now. But I still picked it up, and in draft, I would personally not run this card unless I have at least 3 of them in the deck. If I don't get at least 3, I typically won't run it unless you have other synergies that just make it worth your time. So at least that's my rule of thumb on it. This one was a late pick, 7 mana 4/4. I've never been able to make this card work. Sorry about the glare with the foiling, but I mean, I could see the potential in it. I just personally don't like the card. It's not enough power and toughness for me for for the mana value. I mean, yes, it allows you to do the things that it does, but I just have not been able to make that work. This one was a later pick as well, but it's actually pretty solid creature removal if you happen to be going that Rakdos Suspect deck. Toxin analysis. I like this as a combat trick. It's I think I've covered this previously, but regardless, it's a nice combat trick, or it's a nice way to gain life and investigate. So it's a pretty solid 1-mana card, and then another land. I should have sorted those a little bit better. And then here's the deck proper. This is I like this particular land because both is it a clue and it's an artifact. So funny enough, with that relive the past, relive the past. This can apply for one or the other target wise. So I like that card a lot. But even without that, it's a solid mana fixer, and if you absolutely need to, you can sack it to draw a card. So I like it a lot. And the fact that it doesn't need a tap to sack, because clues don't need a tap to sack. You can commit, essentially you're paying 1 mana with this to sack this and draw a card. So I like it a lot. Knife is a fun card. It's another one of those cards that possibly was going to be with. I was thinking about going the Naya, but I decided not to, like I said. But I like equipment cards personally, especially ones that have the ability to sack and draw a card. But this actually did make my Dog Walker a viable threat. I was able to swing in for 4 damage and not be chump block with, or not trade it to a 1/1 or anything like that, because the knife was equipped to it. So it definitely helped a lot. That Felonious Rage I told you about, definitely had to run one of these because I really like the card a lot. Fanatical Strength, I believe I mentioned it before, but I will mention it again. This is just an amazing pump spell. The fact that it gives +3/+3 and trample. Now, mind you, this is for a limited setting. In Constructed, it's definitely a different story because you have better options, obviously. But for limited, this is just an amazing combat trick that after you've declared attacks, and depending on how your opponent goes about the blocks, you can be like, oh yeah, this will finish the game. So yeah, it's just amazing. And having 2 of them definitely makes your deck very strong. So I did enjoy those a lot. Galvanize is a pretty solid, essentially lightning strike that can potentially be bigger, but it's only for creatures, obviously. But I do like the card a lot. In this particular set, it more often than not, you're doing 5 damage with it. Like, it's just a solid removal. This is one of the cards I built my deck around. Normally, I would never pick this, but I actually made this work, and it was able to do a goofy thing. The fact that I did use this to pay 2 mana to flip my 6/7 Reacher one time, so that was amazing for 2 mana. And I didn't even have 6 mana on the board, but I was able to flip a 6/7 for 2. Essentially, I committed 5 mana and 2 cards into a 6/7, which not bad. And then the secondary effect of exiling the number of face-up creatures you control with Disguise in a face-down pile and then cloak them. This was a lot of fun. I was actually able to pull this off and kill an opponent that essentially they had the Pride of the Wholeclade, the Living Conundrum. They just had a bunch of big butts, and with the creatures that I had on the board, I was not able to get in. They'd be able to just constantly chump block me. But because I was able to pull this off and do some direct damage to their face, which I'm going to show you with another card, I was able to kill them because of the sheer number of disguised creatures that I had, that I was able to do damage to them. You'll see in just a moment. So this was the reason why I enjoyed the deck, and I actually picked this like second to last pick. I knew no one picks it, so it was a lot of fun. I was able to pull that off. Dog Walker, just borrow, or it's limited staple at this point. If you're in red or white, you just run this card, or you go into that because of this. I actually picked one, this particular card, just because it's that strong. Flourishing Bloomkin, I like this card a lot. The disguise part of it is definitely fun, and I love deck thinning. That's just like something I enjoy doing, period. I actually ran a standard mono green deck with 4 of these guys, just because either I'm playing them turn 2 as a creature that grows every turn as I play lands, or I'm playing it as a disguised creature as a combat trick that can flip, get bigger, and hit them for even harder. So yeah, it's just a solid card, and getting two of them is pretty strong. So yeah, I like this card a lot myself personally. And then if you're like predominantly green, it's a even in the late game it could be like a 2-mana 5/5. It's ridiculous, and I enjoy the card a lot. Tunnel Tipster is just a solid card if you're doing the face down disguise decks. And even with the even with that expose the culprit, if you do it during your turn, you're able to grow the Tunnel Tipster as well. So it's a lot of fun, and also getting two of them is pretty solid as well. And then just that mana ramp that you get from it is just a decent combination. This is the card I was talking about, that Pyrotechnic Performer. Just flipping this over, dealing 3 damage for 1 is pretty awesome. And also having these Flourishing Bloomkins flip over and deal extra damage with this is actually because of these two cards. I had this and that on the board, flipped that over for 3, played the Expose the Culprit, put both of them face down, did another 3, and dealt another 7 damage for Exactsies to kill my opponent. It was amazing. So this is very rare that I think this is the first time I ever actually drafted with the card itself, and I enjoyed it a lot. Like, this pushed me into the face down disguise deck, and it just did a lot of work, and I enjoyed it a lot. Reckless Detective, it's a solid card advantage card, and if you don't have cards to discard, if you have artifacts to sack and just blow away, I mean, you could potentially have this attack and sack a clue and commit no mana to it. It's just a really solid 2-mana 0/3 that I enjoy a lot. Magnifying Glass, I believe I've said it before, and I'm going to say it almost every time. If I have one, I will run it in every one of my limited decks, just because of my Game 1 opponent. Round 1, Game 1, we both got mana flooded, but I was able to pull ahead because I had a Magnifying Glass, potentially drawing 1 extra card or almost 2 extra cards per turn because of the sheer mana. So at the end of their turn, I paid 4 mana, made a clue, sacked it. Beginning of my turn, paid 4 mana, made the clue, sacked it again, then drew for turn. So it got to that point, and just because I was able to accelerate and draw extra cards because of this, it won me that particular game. So I like that a lot. And also, I mean, these combo very well together. Make the clue, sack the clue, draw the card. It's just a lot of fun. So I like Magnifying Glass in this particular set. It works amazingly because it just synergizes with so many different things. Sample Collector is just a solid 3-mana 2/3 that does get bigger. Collecting Evidence 3 is super easy, and I have no recursion in this particular deck, so I never cared about what I had in the graveyard. So this definitely was a solid pick. Bite Down on Crime, solid punch spell that you could potentially do for 2 mana, and it grows your guy as well. So the number of times I'm able to punch something and then get through for that extra damage is pretty absurd. Person of Interest, I believe I've covered this before. It's 4 mana for 4 power and 4 toughness spread across 2 bodies, and one of them being Menace. And getting 2 of them is definitely a solid way to go. And then I know the Boros deck, if you're running these guys and Inside Witness, right? I think that's what it is. Or I forget that. I'm sure I'm saying wrong, but it's the 3 mana 1/1 that when it enters the battlefield, it makes a 2/2 detective as well. Inside Source, that's it. Those are just amazing cards for just that aggro setup. So yeah, that's pretty rare, very good. Because I was doing the face metal mechanic, I happened to get one of these guys. Definitely helped out the deck a lot. It's a solid 4 mana 4/4 with Vigilance that essentially allows me to ramp into my bigger, either my disguise cards being put into play, or flipping my disguise cards and making them stronger. Torch the Witness is just a solid removal spell that essentially draws you an extra card for minimal investment mana-wise, because you could essentially pay, 3 mana to kill a 2/2 and make a clue. So it's not the worst, and then obviously it just gets better over with more mana. Offender at Large, I've already discussed. It's a solid card. I didn't run 2 because I didn't want my deck to be too top-heavy. Bolrac Clan Basher. Even if you're not playing the face down deck, this is just an amazing card to flip up into your opponent after they've declared no blocks on it. Having a double striking trampler is pretty absurd. And in this deck, obviously it's very well, but in other decks, if you're running red, you could potentially run this. It's just a very strong flip card. Rift Burst Hellion, just a solid disguise creature that the number of times that you're able to swing in after you have 6 mana with this face down and they declare no blocks on it, or if they do declare block on it on something with a value creature, you just flip it up and be like, okay, I eat your creature and I don't lose mine. And then, like I said earlier, with the Expose the Culprit, right? Expose the culprit. I was able to play this face down, and then I had 2 mana extra that whenever I did declare blocks, I laid Expose the Culprit, flipped my guy face up. It was a 6/7 that just ate his creature, so it was pretty strong. And another one of those really good big creatures for the flip deck. It's just a solid creature that if it does happen to be not declared blocks and you pay that extra mana and flip it over into a 5/5, it hits for 5 instead of 2, and it makes you a clue. So definitely a fun card that I enjoyed running. And then that was the deck itself. It was a lot of fun to pilot. The number of times I dealt just indirect damage with the Pyrotechnic Performer, it was just a lot of fun. I'm actually thinking about doing a mono red burn deck with just the Pyrotechnic Performer and a bunch of other face down flipping cards, but I know it's not going to be the best because you have to commit that 3 mana into it, but it might be a fun standard brew. I did standard a standard RCQ recently. I placed like 12th out of like 20 some odd people, so not the best record. Only 2 losses I had were in the top 8, so I know that the deck could have done better, so I might actually be dabbling more into standard, so I might even show off the deck that I ran and just kind of discuss that as well. But for now, that's that particular deck, and then we'll go into these packs, see if we got any luck. I know at this point in this set, I'm not really looking for anything. I'd be happy if I just got a single Surveillant out of these 3 packs. But I know with these being play boosters, we had the chance of like those lottery packs now with the what's it called? The special guest, I think is what they're called, cards with like the show and tell, the feel of the dead, things of that nature. They're good and it's fun, and that's another reason I actually do like the play boosters myself personally, but I know there's some people that don't. Starting us off, we got those Lazav, Wearer of Faces, amazing 2 mana 2/3. Detective Satchel, I've seen this card do so much work. This and a Gear Drake, such a ridiculous combination. Perimeter Enforcer, Persuasive Interrogators, and then we got our commons here. Galvanize, I'm going to be cool with that. Man, I love these alternate art cards. Look amazing. The fact that you're looking through a magnifying glass and you see the scene, it looks pretty sweet to me. I'm not a big fan of the case file, I think is what the other treatment is called. I just don't like the way the text looks or like the way it looks overall, and a lot of them, they just look like white cards to me. I'm not the biggest fan, but I do enjoy it. Token card, Swamp, got ourselves our foil, and assemble the players, a solid 2 mana enchantment. Oh, and we got ourselves just a double wire, but still, double rare pack. The set's Phoenix, not the strongest Phoenix that's currently in standard, but definitely a lot of fun. No More Lies, and then our commons and uncommons, a lot of fun. Man, this card got me a couple times during that particular standard, and man, I hate counter spells so much. I hate blue just period. It just, But I get it. It makes sense. That's the color of disruption. Just, it goes with the set and the theme, but I still hate it. Anyway, starting off with our planes and our foil. Ooh, a War Leader's Call. I like this card a lot. Especially in limited, it's just amazing. I'm still working on a standard brew. I know that there's the Boros Convoke that's technically in standard. It does not run the War Leader's Calls from what I see. I think I've seen a couple of mid-range variants, and I think I'm going to be pursuing for something that's both like a combination of Boros mid-range and Boros Convoke, with this card being kind of a staple. And this one was a single rare pack as well. But still, a lot of fun cards. Oh, 4 uncommons. And yeah, this treatment, I don't know, I do not like it that much. I don't like the textile, the border style, like all of that. I'm just not a big fan. I mean, that just looks like a white card to me. I know it's black and white, so it's kind of moot. But when you see the other colors, it just looks white because it just looks like a case file. So I'm not the biggest fan. Then our commons as well. Another Galvanize. Definitely going to set these all aside because I know that I might see those being played somewhere else. But there we go. That's everything for this evening. I know this one's going to be kind of short because I only had 1 deck to review. Next week, hopefully, things I might have 2 again, but we'll see. And yeah, I know time is ticking away for what is it called? Outlaws of Thunder Junction. I think I'm just going to refer to it as Thunder Junction going forward, but I know it's technically OTJ, I think is the abbreviation. Regardless, I'm just calling it Thunder Junction because if I say that, everyone should know what I'm talking about. Let me know if you guys are looking forward to anything in that particular set that's coming out. I personally have not looked too much into spoiler season. Me and some of my buddies have kind of discussed, like, it's more fun going into it blind. Now, because I judge, I can't go into it completely blind. I try to go as blind as I can, but the only thing I'll look into is mechanics and figuring all those out, which I mean, it's my job to know how those work prior to the event, so I definitely go over that. And then for the fans that definitely made it to this point of my video and listened to my rambling, here's a few more codes for you guys. I got a bunch of these codes at the moment, so some of them are pre-release ones, some of them are from promo packs. They're from various things. I've kind of accumulated a handful during my absence of videos, but here they are for you guys in your viewing pleasure. Like I said, if you guys have redeemed a couple, hold off and let others redeem them as well. Kind of spread the love and share the wealth. I mean, if you want to be greedy and take them all on you, that's on you, and I'll let karma deal with you as it will. But for everyone else, I mean, hopefully everyone shares. I mean, as far as I know, no one's really told me their feedback. I know earlier on I've had some people tell me they got some amazing things from these, so congrats to them. Hopefully you are spreading that out, and if not, that's on you. But thank you guys again. Do look forward to another video coming up, and obviously whenever Thunder Junction does come out, I will do my best. I'm not going to review every pre-release deck that I have, but I'll do my best to at least cherry pick a few of them, just because there's a lot, and it's sometimes it's a little hard. And the typically that weekend I get maybe a total hour count of 5 hours of sleep, so events get kind of jumbled and fused together, but I'll do my best to kind of sort that out for you guys. I am looking to try and get definitely my hands on a collector box of that. I'm still looking for more collector packs of the Fallout set. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to get my hands on even a single one at this point. So here's hoping I can find at least one just to open for you guys to see. I'm sure there's been plenty of other channels that have opened boxes, but I still want to give it a shot. I mean, you never know what I could possibly get. So thank you guys again. Do look forward to the next video whenever it does come around. I'm going to try and make it a weekly point to post these on Sunday now, just because it seems like that's my best day to get these out here. But do look forward to more content in the near future. Thank you so much again, guys, for all the support. I know my loving wife definitely has pushed me to do this more often. I'm going to definitely do it more for sure. So going to keep rambling if I don't stop. So thank you guys again. Do take the time to like, comment, subscribe, share the video, do all the things. I'm almost at 100 subscribers, which blows my mind, to be honest. So thank you guys for that. I do appreciate all of y'all. And never forget, Senpai didn't notice. Y'all have a good night.